chips in. He's always the provocateur. And he just, everybody else is quite polite and says, looks good. Your response, Matej, is like, how's this going to beat Clash Royale?
I saw this as well. Hi friends, welcome to the Metacast Roundtable by Naavik, and today I'm joined by David Amor, CEO at Playmint, Matej, Lancaric, user acquisition and marketing consultant, and podcast host for 2.5 Gamers. If you want to check it out, it's very interesting topics that they discuss. And Miikka, Ahonen, co-founder at Lightheart Entertainment.
Hey Maria.
Hello. Miikka, it's our first episode together.
Yeah, it is. I guess it's been a long time coming, but finally the stars aligned.
Yeah, you've been busy at Lightheart.
Yeah, we've been busy actually making our second game. So full steam ahead with 2 game teams now.
Nice.
First game still doing well, another one in the pipeline.
I remember we discussed how you did marketability test for the second game, and now it's already coming along. Nice. That's good to hear.
Yeah, we actually did do a small scale marketability test for that, but we can take that discussion offline.
Yeah. Nice. Okay.
And Matej's in Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara. Yeah. The dialing in from Santa Barbara. So if you see me moving like weirdly, it's the connection, because I'm not sure like how is it possible that the US is just very terrible in terms of the internet speed. I will try my best.
It's a big country. There's a lot of cable.
Okay. That would make sense.
Why are you there? Is it vacation?
Yeah, it's a vacation / working from anywhere in the world because I can.
Okay. Sure.
And just jokes aside, my wife just fell in love with Santa Barbara when we were here a couple of years ago. I think it was her first GDC. So we went traveling, and then as soon as we came here, she said, "Okay, so this is the town." So when we were discussing where to go with my wife and my daughter, we were thinking about Maldives or US. And since my daughter is still like not sitting or crawling or anything, the Maldives would be, well, pretty boring and and really challenging. So this is actually like better place to be. We can go out, walk around, and spend some time outside. And it's pretty sunny, so it's 30 degrees outside. So I'm getting some tan anyway.
Wow.
Nice.
I'm so jealous. It's so cold in London.
Well, I hope. It was cold in Slovakia as well. So I hope when I get back in June, it's gonna be already pretty sunny there as well.
Definitely.
Trying to avoid the cold.
Sorry. I was changing topic.
Do it.
I always love talking about the weather. I have to avoid talking about the weather to not be the traditional English person. Miikka, I actually don't know what kind of games Lightheart Entertainment does. What kind of genre is it?
We make action arcade games for mobile.
Wait.
So the first game.
Why didn't you say hypercore?
Oh yeah, it's hypercore. It's in our investor pitch, and because for the investor pitch you need to come up with a word, so we came up with hypercore.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds pretty cool.
It sounds way better than action arcade. Come on.
Yeah, the first game is a 2D action platformer, Mr. Autofire. So yeah, you can check it out. Just search for Mr. Autofire.
Okay, I'll definitely check it out. I like arcade games.
It's really cool game with really cool creatives as well. You're targeting me a lot, and I enjoyed it always.
Did you work on this? Did you participate, Matej?
No, I didn't. Unfortunately, but.
Miikka, okay. I thought you were going to do a tie-in.
I can. Anytime.
Yeah, we're going to continue trying out the new format today. So similarly as in the past episode, if you have any feedback, it would be awesome for you to share it with us. You have our email address in the podcast notes and in the YouTube description, or just contact us through the socials as well. We're really, really keen to hear what you think about it. And on that note, we're going to jump into David's topic. So David, what did you bring today?
Yeah, I like this because we were talking about it over Slack and you say, let's talk about this Bored Ape Yuga thing because that seems interesting. And then just before the podcast starts, I have to intro it. Well, I don't have all the data to hand us. I just show up and talk about stuff. If I feel like this a new sense of responsibilities, so I'll give this a go. Haven't not given it too much thought. But Yuga, which are the stewarding company, maybe you would call it, behind the Bored Ape Yacht Club and various variations, derivative projects of that, launched a coin a couple of weeks ago, and then this weekend launched a land sale for their forthcoming game, Other Side. And it was hotly anticipated. Obviously, Bored Ape Yacht Club is the biggest NFT set, probably by transaction volume and value.
Well, Moonbird most probably.
Oh yeah, that's right. Moonbird, I suppose, are the most recent one. Although I still think Bored Ape Yacht Club probably.
In terms of transaction volume, most probably is the biggest one. Yeah.
Well, they've been around for a while as well. They're sort of OG status, right?
Yeah, true.
And when they talk about doing something new, obviously everybody pays attention. They're going to come out with a game. It's going to be called Other Side. You're going to need other deeds in order to use this new metaverse-style game, which doesn't have a lot of definition. But everything that they've done in the past has done well in terms of anybody that's invested in it. Obviously, anybody that bought Bored Apes back in the day has done exceptionally well from that, or indeed things that they've done subsequently. So it's hotly anticipated. And the launch of their land sale happened over the weekend. And, to generalize, I would say it did not go well. I mean, it went well in the sense
Why didn't it go well?
Because it wasn't very well organized, Matej. So I suppose you would say they received $300 million from the sales of their land. I think you would say, I guess that's good. That has gone well for them. But anybody that wanted to take part and buy it, it was a very difficult process. It was a slow process. And perhaps most importantly, it was a very expensive process. $180 million spent by people trying to mint this NFT. And I think the general consensus, from my point of view, of doing something in this sphere, it was avoidable. That it was a sort of messy launch, which should have been avoided by people that ought to know what they're doing. And I think that was a little frustrating. We were hoping for something a bit better organized.
Didn't the founder or the person who created, I think the person who created Ethereum also responded on Twitter saying that actually it wasn't possible to avoid? I don't know if this is entirely true, but at least that seemed to be his position.
It's rare that I will go against Vitalik, but that's a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah.
But on this occasion, he is not right. He's right insofar as, hey, if you try and do a lot on Ethereum all at once, then the gas price will go up, and that's how it manages demand. But then how about not trying to do a lot of things on Ethereum all at once? Why not find another way of distributing land to people that want to buy it? And that could be on a side chain. It could have been done there and then released back onto Ethereum over the course of a week or two, sort of managed back onto Ethereum. Or it could have been done as a
possible to do it like a stage rollout on Google, for example, or like 10%.
Yeah, well, that's so. How much interest there is.
Yeah, true.
So why not just? It's a little bit like, maybe this is too. It's a bit like Glastonbury tickets, where there's going to be demand, so you build systems in place to deal with it, and they didn't, and that seems odd to me.
But look, even when like a lot of people were frustrated about the whole land sale, eventually they made a lot of money on the secondary market anyway. I mean, afterwards,
anybody that was able to buy one, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're right. It is a successful project in that anybody that got one, now they're worth more. Yeah. But then that would be the case anyway. I suppose what I'm really commenting on the way in which it was done.
Sure.
It's still waste, right? Like you could have saved a lot of money that just disappeared by managing it properly. If I got it right, that's how I understood it.
Yeah, because I didn't know that this could happen. But if you're trying to mint something at the point where the gas prices go up, if you don't have enough Ethereum to finalize the cost of the gas fee, you'll actually lose all of the Ethereum that you were putting into it. And so people just lost Ethereum and didn't get anything in return for it.
Yeah, and you have what's called a gas war, where the more gas you commit, the more Ethereum you commit to making that transaction happen, the higher the chance of you being successful. But that does mean that if you were spending gas and you didn't commit enough, then that could disappear and you not get anything. Now, they said they're going to reimburse the people that have done that, but then that creates its own set of problems.
Yeah.
So it's just unnecessarily messy from somebody that should know better, I suppose.
Yeah, I think they should definitely know better for the size of the company, the hype around them as well, and it just looks like they just didn't care about about the players at all. That's pretty dangerous, especially in the blockchain space.
Yeah, and they sort of pointed the finger at Ethereum a little bit.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's not cool. Come on, there were ways around this. You just didn't think about it properly.
Yeah, like they said, this is how Ethereum works. Come on. It's like, sure. But like you said, they could do something else. And then, maybe this was a build-up for their own chain in the future. We don't know.
Yeah, that's the rumor going around.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't buy into it. It was all a ploy and it's a strategic conspiracy. However, it does play nicely into the...
Yeah, it's a good narrative around the
narrative, yeah.
I have another point to make. Sort of the other interesting thing that I found was it's $300 million that's going to go toward a other side game. And an interesting company that was sort of on the credits for this other side game is Improbable. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Improbable, but they've sort of been in the games industry for the last 8 years, building and having, $750 million worth of investment, maybe a bit more. So huge amount, London-based company, huge amount of investment. Promise the world on a stick in terms of a general purpose AI that everyone can build games from. But in that period of 8 years, I think they've had maybe 4 or 5 cancelled games. I don't think any game has come out. And those are the people that are behind the forthcoming game. So I wouldn't, I don't know any more detail than that. But I don't see that as a particularly safe pair of hands to create a Bored Ape Yacht Club game.
There is a perfect position for an improbable pun there. But I will not do it.
I think you just did.
Yeah, he kind of did. Yeah, I think that Jan did a post on the social networks about this, and I'm very much aligned with the perspective. All respect for Yuga Labs, and they've done something that's hard to replicate, and they are unique in their position and brought something new to the world. It just leaves me a bit disappointed with the dream that was being sold in terms of crypto. It's all about decentralization, democratization. At least my understanding from that is sharing value across everyone and not only the rich getting richer, which is what happens in the centralized world. And so I was expecting companies to just try to make this accessible to everyone and not price people out significantly and everyone being able to join in. And just seeing this happen, it's just impossible for me to buy in and be part of this club. It just makes it feel like, the high school club that everyone wants to belong to, but only a few are able to join. It just feels too exclusive to what the decentralized dream is.
Yeah, well, I would say that what we've seen happen over the last week is the wheels coming off that idea a little bit, because now there's way too much demand for far too little supply, artificially created. The money's going towards something that probably isn't going to be a great game. Early to say. So there's nothing particularly good about it. And it feels like a company that was seen to be thought leaders in this space have now made errors that you don't really believe in this version of blockchain. At least I don't. It's less interesting to me.
Yeah, regarding the game, have you played the Mutants versus Apes that came from Yuga? It's just a Archer clone without any monetization, and it's just, I'm not sure. I think the number of players who played that game is like 30K, which is ridiculously low for this type of hype around the whole brand. So I'm not sure about the other side.
Yeah, and they do have this idea that their ape coins, which is sort of part of their universe, gets used in other mobile games or other all kind of games. But I don't know. I'm becoming increasingly cynical about how well this is going to work.
Well,
yeah, it looks like they're doing the opposite way how I think the whole space will evolve. So first you just build the game, then put the blockchain layer, try to implement it wisely and in some logical way, and then on top of it you just do all these NFT sales, land sales, and whatever else that actually is a part of your economy, and then not the other way around.
I mean, the other side is supposed to be a metaverse for
of course,
rather than
what else?
rather than mobile games that happen to use the token. But I just haven't seen anything that I find easy to get behind.
Yeah, well, hopefully lessons will be learned, and we'll see other companies also learning from what happened, just taking other strategies. We'll have to see. On that note, Matej, what do you have for the roundtable?
It's a very good segue to my topic, and it's a shameless plug because I wrote this piece a while ago.
Yeah, we classified it as cheating.
It's cheating. Yeah. Sorry about that. But I still believe it's pretty interesting topic of the UA for free to play versus blockchain games, and since we saw quite a big figures invested in the games in terms of the blockchain, and I think there are questions to be asked about how should we go about scaling the marketing activities or the UA on blockchain games. Would the old free to play model or UA framework work, or are there some similarities between the free to play versus the blockchain games methodologies in terms of the UA? So I just and interrupt me anytime you want if I say something stupid or something that doesn't ring a bell. So I did a comparison between like Web 2 and Web 3 and how the different marketing activities change. So I'm just gonna run through the Web 2 first, and then the Web 3 as a comparison, and then end with the hypothesis I have. So basically with Web 2, I think there are still like the traditional UA channels like Facebook, Google ad networks, and the TikTok. We're paying attention to the App Store optimization and trying to run the UA for the value optimized players, ad revenue versus in-app revenues, and then using something like influencer marketing, different tools like App Annie or Sensor Tower, and then using for tracking mobile marketing partners, and basically before every game is created, I think what we discussed the first with Miikka is the marketability test, where you just test your game and visual styles, and then ask players some questions. So how this change when you're going to the Web 3? So I see slightly different UA mix from the games I work on at the moment, which is more leaning toward the Twitter, TikTok, maybe Reddit, Google, YouTube mostly. But then instead of App Store optimization, there is a huge emphasis on the landing page conversion rate optimization, which is where that's the funnel you are working with on the Web3 games at the moment. And instead of Facebook fan pages, you're mostly on Discord and Telegram building the communities. Then instead in terms of the mobile, not mobile, in terms of the marketing activities, you're using AMAs written or live on Twitter Spaces or on Telegram. you write more like blogs and developer updates rather than just talk to the community in terms of the Web 2. Then you have the App Radar, Rarity tools, and some other tools instead of the Epiphany and Sensor Tower, which is on the Web 2 side. And then, trying to look at the analytics as well. It's very different from the mobile space. You're using more like segment, mix panels, and these type of tools. And then what is not used that much in the free-to-play is email marketing. And then now we're going to the like Web3 specific marketing tools, which is like pre-sale, market validations, also this land sales, what we discussed in the previous article. And then also what is really important in the Web3 space is our guilds, basically. And this can be used as a UA tool quite heavily. And I know David has some opinions about that as well. So
how do you know that? Have I said that?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. Well, we discussed this in one lecture, maybe.
Okay, carry on. Sorry.
So just wrap it up. I think community building is very, very important for Web3 games. But I think it should be divided into two stages. So before the game is live, the building community, pre-sales, airdrops, and building a hype around the game is really important. But after you launch the game, I mean, you can rely on the community, yes, but then more traditional UA activities come to place, and it needs from my opinion, for game to be scaled, you need to be in the control of all the marketing activities, and this is done by just the traditional UA.
Do you know?
Are there actually companies that are doing direct response marketing on Web3 games?
Yes, but it's slightly different than.
Wait a second. What does direct response mean?
It's UA or
okay, performance marketing,
showing an ad and expecting the user to actually click on it, do a thing. So in this case, convert to a player of your game.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, but it's not done on mobile, but it's more done on the web, I would say.
Yeah. Do you know, I make a prayer to the marketing gods. The performance marketing is not a part of Web3. I know that you've made...
I think it's going to happen.
You do? I hope.
Yeah, I think so too. It'll eventually converge. Because at one point, there's just going to be too many games for the hype that can be created. And you'll start fighting for the hype.
I can still pray for that. Do you know what I find really sad is that if I was to release a mobile game that was successful, not unsuccessful, successful, and we all know this, we've all done this before, then if I make $1, then 30 cents of it goes to Apple or Google, 60 cents goes to Mark Zuckerberg or Mr. TikTok, and then I see 10 cents. And I hate the idea that 60 cents of marketing money goes to... on performance marketing. And I know it's very effective, but I just don't like that as a model, Matej. So I hope I hope you're wrong.
You know what,
let's
David?
See. Yeah.
I think performance marketing only means that you measure what you spend, right? So because marketing used to be this blob of money that didn't get accounted for.
I see.
And at some point, we figured out that we can actually measure this spend. So we needed to give it a new name.
To be clear,
but it's still just marketing, right? It's part of your marketing toolbox. It's not a black science. It's just something that you can measure. Yeah.
Well, so yes, I suppose what I'm talking about is social media marketing, and you're right, it is performed. Although you would say, and you know this better than me, that presumably post IDFA, then the performance part, the measuring part, has presumably got a bit more difficult anyway, right? So
definitely.
It's true, yeah. But it's still money going in, money going out. It's not that hard.
But what I really hope that happens in Web3 is that the people that... I love the idea that you can motivate the people playing the game to be sort of ambassadors for the game or to help grow the game. So if your game has tokens and those tokens have real world value, then you can motivate people essentially with dollar value to do the things that you want to see them do in game. And I'd far sooner give the players my marketing dollars than give it to Facebook and Google and TikTok.
Yeah, of course.
Networks.
100%. But then is this really controllable from your side and scalable as well? You can put all the tokens you can to motivate players, but is it going to be a lot of players in the end, or just a couple of the key opinion leaders in the game that are going to?
What do you think, Maria? You need to cut
word
through the noise with back on Facebook. Is that what you're telling me?
Back on Facebook? What?
Well, what I mean to say is, you said that you're going to have to use social media in order to, in a much more noisy Web3 space, you're going to have to go lean on traditional marketing methods like Facebook and Google. Or did I mishear you?
I think that the strategies we use nowadays in UA, they'll eventually be more required. You won't be able to just fully rely on hype train and word of mouth in order to get players to your game as the market becomes more saturated. I think it will still. I think ambassadors will continue to be a major part to play in UA. It feels like this scaled influencer program that Web2 games have nowadays, but with different incentives and ways of getting influencers on board. It's a different kind of content creation.
Miikka, what's your wish to the marketing gods?
Better conversion. It's always the same. It doesn't change.
Yeah.
I'm curious what this prayer is. We need to add it to the show notes.
It's a private thing.
And Matej, is anybody are you starting to work with Web3 companies to actually put some of these ideas into action?
Yeah. It's moving into the right direction. It's not like the same level of scale yet as with mobile games, but step by step, it's still pretty new for everybody.
Yeah, I was so excited to get an ad for Star Atlas. It made me feel special. The world thinks I'm a Web3 audience. Gosh.
Oh, well.
Well, that's a good tie-in for Miikka's topic about scaling a new game. So, new Warcraft game was announced. I actually haven't looked too much into it.
Yeah, so this week Blizzard announced a new mobile game, Warcraft Arclight Rumble. The name is kind of a mouthful. But first of all, it's kind of back to the roots. It's a Warcraft strategy game. So kind of like that's actually the Warcraft that I grew up with before World of Warcraft. The gameplay is essentially Clash Royale with some things changed around, I would say. But obviously with the Warcraft IP. Call it action strategy, if you will. I've heard that term being used for this type of games. It does have the difference from Clash Royale in the core game seems to be that there's a focus on the single player campaign. So it's like a player versus environment experience as well. And obviously it has it's kind of a Blizzard kind of way to do it. So there's a lot of different maps. It's kind of a big scope as well. But overall,
I was going to ask: is it? It's a mobile game that looks like Warcraft, like with a sort of cartoony vibe. Is it built by Blizzard? Do you know?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's built by actually like Blizzard in the US and not contracted from China like Diablo Immortal. The concept is actually interesting. It's basically the concept.
It looks like Clash Royale, man.
Clash Royale, but PvE, right? That's it.
Yeah.
I actually made a proto of this at some point at Lightheart. We have a proto like this. We didn't go forward with it, but I thought the concept was interesting enough, so we made a proto about it. Why
didn't move forward? I mean, didn't you want to compete with Clash Royale?
Ooh, hot questions here.
So good question. The interaction was kind of okay because Clash Royale interaction is okay, but the PvE version we just couldn't make it fun. So basically, what we thought that it would take us a lot of time to make the PvE experience fun and balance it. So then we decided to move on to another prototype. So it wasn't like this sucks. let's not ever do it. It was more like this would take a lot of work to make it fun. So let's find some other prototype that where the fun is more easy to find. I guess that was our thinking at the time.
I was looking on LinkedIn and there was a product announcement from the product owner of that title. And Matej always chips in. He's always the provocateur. And he just, everybody else is quite polite and says, looks good. Your response, Matej, was like, how's this going to beat Clash Royale?
I saw this as well.
Well, but really, I mean, I said already, like, hey, guys, great job, of course. But direct competition to Clash Royale, I mean, we saw a lot of clones not so successful. And I know, like, this is not exactly the same, but still, even with Blizzard, I mean, it's going to be very tough.
Do you know what? It's a bit of an experiment for me in can a game company that's very used to doing excellent, PC games, console games, PC, I suppose, primarily, but can they turn their hand to mobile free to play? And I'm sure that they can build a great looking, great playing game on mobile, but I wonder if it can monetize in the same way as the experts in the field, because that's not a given. I guess we saw it with Fallout Shelter. Do you remember that back a while ago? That was a sort of, that felt like it was from the same team and did do quite well, but I think it was a paid game.
It kind of like it lacked longevity. Let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, the game does look awesome, right? Blizzard has a good track record of fun, and the IP is definitely worth something. So there's good things there. I would download it. I think many others will as well when it comes out. The bigger challenge is, like you said, or will be for the Blizzard team. Obviously, I don't know what the game is like yet, but this is like speculation. But I think it will be interesting to see how they deal with this. Basically, the retention and the monetization part of it. So basically, all of the progression systems in the game. If we look at Blizzard's track record on free to play, it's Hearthstone. And Hearthstone's monetization is a little bit special because it's basically a trading card game just digitally, and the systems match that. So you release new cards. Kind of rudimentary, but it works. Heroes of the Storm, great game, financial failure. The free-to-play design is just utterly bad. And building these kind of solid free-to-play progression systems, it's pretty hard. And it's something that I don't think we've really seen from Blizzard yet. And then again, like taking Hearthstone systems into this game, it will not work. Units in this game will be so much more complex than cards. You cannot possibly just provide the amount of content that you need to feed this like trading card game content machine. So that's
you need very deep expertise on the mobile free-to-play space to be successful, and to be successful in this specific genre and the game. So
I think the challenge is, I think it's much harder to make a game that monetizes at a level that you can do positive ROAS ad spend than it is to make a great game that plays well and looks good. It's a real shame, but I mean, the App Store's got a million games that play well and look great, but are dead because you can't market them. So I'm certainly not writing it off at this point, but that feels like more of a challenge than making a great game.
That's why I'm so surprised, because I saw the announcement and I looked at the visuals and the website. It's a fully fleshed website. It looks like it has a lot of features from the get-go in the release. I don't know how much it costs to make, but it looks like a very expensive game to make. And then how do you make it profitable and then have positive ROAS? It's a lot of questions. And
so there's like a 100K game, there's like a 1 million game, and then there's 10 million game. I think that looked like a 10 million game of those. Obviously, there's also a 100 million game, but not many companies do 100 million games for mobile. But like the budget is definitely in many millions for that. Compared to what kind of like, I guess my company's way of doing is build the first hour of the game, launch the prototype, see if you can market it, if players stay on for 2 days, and then take it from there. This is high production values from the get-go, huge launch scope. Launch with a pre-reg campaign, expensive launch trailer. I think the launch trailer cost more than Mr. Autofire's first App Store version. So it's definitely like it's different. So there's and I'm not saying like it's wrong, but there's very different types of companies and different ways of making games.
Well, this is what I would call a build it and they will come production philosophy. And I haven't seen that work in mobile for a while. I mean, even Supercell will do soft launches, and I can't think of anybody that's so confident in mobile they'll just go directly to an enormous launch. So it's, it's exactly what you do on console or PC, I guess.
Yeah.
I know it's been a while, but so they're trying to use that playbook in mobile, but nobody else does, as far as I know. So that feels risky.
Yeah, it's not going to work. It's not going to work even if you are Blizzard.
A definitive statement there.
Bold prediction from Matej.
That's my bold prediction. I know, yeah. No, because that's why you do the soft launch, because even if you build a game, 10 million, multi-million game, it will have issues. And if you don't get these issues before the launch, then you are in a very big trouble. And even like large budgets for the global launch won't save these. So it's very, very dangerous thing to do.
Yeah. I wonder how much time was spent trying to make the acronym of the game be WAR.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, Warcraft Arclight Rumble.
That explains the name. I did not notice that.
It's a backronym. That's what it is.
A backronym.
A backronym. You start with a word and then figure out. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, well, I mean, they do, as you were saying, Maria, I guess they have a lot of momentum behind them, but because people love Blizzard and people love Warcraft and it looks great and it will play well. So they probably got some momentum that will forgive, a period of live ops while they try and fix the plane as it's scooting along. But I don't know. I'd rather not do that.
I don't know if the momentum is starting to shake a little bit, because we saw with World of Warcraft players left to go to Final Fantasy XIV, so that long-term loyalty to the game could be reducing perhaps a little bit. I'm just hypothesizing here. I just don't know how much the brand of Warcraft can carry a game to success, like Matej was saying.
You're heading toward a bold prediction.
I'm not.
Don't stop
I'm
there.
not.
Come on, what's it going to be? You need to say
I wish the biggest success.
Oh, God, how boring.
Oh, of course.
I'm sorry, I'm Canadian at heart. On that note, I'll jump into the topic that I brought today, which was Embracer acquiring essentially Square Enix North America, really. So they entered an agreement to acquire Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal. And they're also going to... Embracer Group is also going to own some of the major IPs developed by those companies, such as Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Thief, and Legacy of Kain. I didn't know Legacy of Kain, but apparently a lot of people are happy about it because it was a great game with some nostalgia. And the deal is going to cost Embracer $300 million in a cash deal. And I believe the lump sum will be paid in full once the acquisition goes through. It feels like a small amount of money. And I believe that's just been the discussion mainly in the industry.
Here's a thought, just to link topic number 1 to, where are we? Topic number 4. The land sales of that Bored Ape game is the same as Embracer just paid. So that $300 million ties the two stories together. Does seem low. I think everyone's feeling like that's low, but maybe it's correct.
Well,
I think Embracer is buying Tomb Raider franchise and the capability to ship these AAA Tomb Raider titles. That's all. And Square Enix is divesting studios that are bleeding money. I think the bleeding money part explains the price. Yeah,
I think you're exactly right. And it also seems to be some consensus in the industry as well. And that's what's happening, because we look at the eye-watering prices, how much Sony acquired Bungie for, and Bungie essentially has one game right now and others in development, and that was $3.6 billion. And now we have 3 companies. They have proven record in releasing AAA games. Guardians of the Galaxy, I think it was okay. It undershot expectations of Square Enix. I don't think it underperformed that much.
But I think these are like 200 million games that made 100 million in revenue.
Yeah, I think it was the Avengers game that had 200 million in losses.
I think that they don't have any absolute heavyweight hits there. Like Tomb Raider is the one that I guess means the most to people there. But then Epic gave away, well, I guess it's Square Enix, but on the Epic Store you can find all 3 Tomb Raider games for free just before Christmas, right? So how much is that? How valuable is it really? Are people still going to pay $60, $70 for Tomb Raider in 2 years' time? And that's probably the biggest, and it's probably in 2 years away. And it's going to cost a fortune to make. They have 11,000 people in those studios they've just let go. So using, Amor maths.
But I think you're describing the thoughts that any AAA studio would have, like nowadays. That's not.
What do you mean?
That's not like. I mean, like any AAA game that you make is going to be multiple 100 million, and at some point they will be almost free at the Epic Store.
Well,
after a couple of years when they're in the back catalog.
I guess I'm just saying that the Tomb Raider's star has faded somewhat, and it's I'm not sure you can get the level of excitement that you need to in a AAA game that's going to cost you a fortune to make in 2 years' time. It feels a little tired, and I think they're feeling that their money could be better spent elsewhere.
Yeah, I think I think I saw a quote of the Embracer Group CEO saying if this were a different time, the price tag could have been different. I believe Square Enix Montreal has been struggling to find a hit title in mobile free-to-play. There's some lack of expertise within these companies to do live ops. Square Enix is interested in disinvesting, and then they're getting this lump sum that they can invest in other priorities such as blockchain, AI, cloud. And there's even a quote from the president of Square Enix saying that Japanese studios can't make good games if they're trying to imitate Western ones. So for me, it feels that they're consolidating in what they know how to do best. Because if we look at the most successful Square Enix games, such as Nier Automata, Final Fantasy XIV, that's sticking to their forte and what they know is their differentiating factor in the market. And I believe perhaps before, more of the Japanese studios, maybe they felt that they needed Western studios to develop games to be successes in the West. We've seen more and more that games developed in Japan and Southeast Asia, that they can be extremely successful in the West and can be developed in that region of the world. That's my take on it.
I always, I don't want to be rude about IDOS, but I always felt that when Square, if for a long time has been very prestigious and has Final Fantasy franchise and all that good stuff, and then Enix, so that felt like a good marriage. I always thought that IDOS was an interesting, surprising choice, I suppose, as a sort of Western part of Square Enix. And I don't think we've seen those mega hits from those studios in since it's been part of Square Enix. So maybe they're just saying, look, we don't want another 11,000 people on our books doing things that probably won't be AAA's knock it out the park, and are cutting some costs. But it's still, I noticed their revenue, Square Enix's revenue is $2.6 billion a year. So, and I guess running those studios would cost them about $100 million a year, something like that. So it's not like they could have afforded to keep them, but it just doesn't feel like it's strategy for them.
I wonder who is going to continue on with the licensing deal with Disney to do the Marvel games, because it wasn't part of the announcement. So it might be that Embracer Group might try to do a licensing deal directly with Disney to carry on with the sequels and do the Marvel games. I just don't see Square Enix continuing to do those kind of games.
What do they have any production outside of Japan now, or is that everything gone for Square Enix?
I'm not sure, actually. I believe I read that the London studio was part of the acquisition because they worked for one of the North American companies, but I'm not sure enough to give a definite answer.
There's also a Perfect Dark title upcoming from Crystal Dynamics. I think that's a Microsoft thing.
What is it about?
I guess it's revival of Perfect Dark. That's a Nintendo 64 first-person shooter revival.
But wait a second, that's published. I mean, it's an IP owned by Microsoft. So what is it? A game for Microsoft?
I think so. Yeah. So I think there's like a publishing deal between Crystal Dynamics and Xbox to do this Perfect Dark. So there's all of these loose ends that I think Embracer has to somehow resolve.
Well, yeah. So let's talk about the other side, which is I can sort of understand why Square Enix might want to let go of studios that aren't knocking it out the park, that are expensive. They want to focus on something else. All that makes sense. Why is Embracer hanging on to what you might consider to be an older business model? Why does it make sense for Embracer and not for Square Enix, if it does?
Embracer's focused on developing single-player narrative games as, I believe, one of their core strategies so far. And this gives them the opportunity of getting companies that have a track record of doing so. And also some IPs that have been gathering dust, Deus Ex, that if you make a good game with that IP, people will go and play. I think Tomb Raider also has a strong marketability right now. We see Horizon. There's not many games with a strong female lead that people can relate to and remember from childhood. We were talking about transmedia and connecting with your... I'd love to play a game where Lara Croft is an, kick-ass woman and just not following female tropes that we see a lot in games and just being an interesting person that's dominating the world. So please, can someone make a great Tomb Raider game? I'll play it.
I think that's true for Tomb Raider, but I don't think that's true for Deus Ex, Thief, and Legacy of Kain, which are the other three IPs, I guess. I know those IPs, but I don't think the general public really cares about Thief or Legacy of Kain.
Not really.
It's also like nerdy 90s niche things,
Yeah.
I played Deus Ex for a very short period of time. I'm definitely a big fan of Tomb Raider because I played it when I was a kid. Tomb Raider 1 and 2, of course. But I'm not sure if the players these days can appreciate the nostalgia that we can see in these games.
Yeah. I mean, did the last Tomb Raider... I think that is the biggest... that they have, and it is big, and it's got movies, and it's in our culture. Yeah. So I would agree that it's a big IP. I wonder what the last one, was it a success for them? I don't remember hearing it was enormous. To me, it looked super polished, and I think it was broadly well received, but I don't think it was the mega hit. I don't know. I come back to this idea. I don't understand why something that evidently didn't work for Square Enix to the point that they were happy to let go of it for $300 million would make sense for Embracer, who feel like, hey, we're going to take the same set of people and with probably slightly different strategy, but we're going to make this a huge success. Seems.
Yeah, but that's the thing with the Embracer buying all these companies. I mean, it's really weird. It's from here, there. It doesn't look like a concise strategy.
Yeah.
On the money side.
I don't know how much interaction the companies will have. Embracer acquired Gearbox, so the maker of Borderlands. So perhaps there's some knowledge that can be shared. Borderlands is a successful game. For me, the price tag of the $300 million, I can just imagine Embracer Group just thinking, oh, this is a steal. We should just do it and see what we can make of it. Because they paid 2 point something, I think almost $3 billion to acquire Asmodee Games. So why not spend $300 million? That seems like a good deal.
Let's spend $300 million and see what happens.
Yeah.
It would be an interesting valuation exercise just to get a hotshot consultants to evaluate the value of Tomb Raider IP. Just the IP. What's the price tag that you would put for the IP? I think it would be $100+ million. I don't know, but that's like a gut feeling based on 10-year-old research what we did at Rovio for Angry Birds back in the day. But
yeah, I don't know how you quantify that, but you're right. That would be an interesting exercise. But it's $300 million plus then $100 million to pay everybody, to run that company or that set of studios every year. So it's not really 300. You don't just get the IP. You've got a hell of a payroll, right?
Yeah, you did. Well, I think we'll wrap up the episode here. if you want to continue the conversation, we're on Discord. You can join Naavik's Discord. Just tying back to the request for feedback. If you're enjoying this new format, please let us know so that we can keep doing it or improving in other ways. And thank you all for joining. It was lovely to have you here. Some very interesting topics.
Thanks.